The case I'm reinvestigating today unfolded in 1973 when the South Wales community of Port Talbot was rocked by a series of violent murders. A serial killer was on the loose, targeting girls who had hitched a ride whilst returning home from a night on the town. Joseph Kappen was a serial killer and known as the Saturday Night Strangler. This whole community in Port Talbot lived in fear, absolute fear, for many, many years. I'm going to ring Phil Reese, a detective investigating the murders of Sandra Newton, Geraldine Hughes and Pauline Floyd. It was reinvestigated in the beginning of 2000. That was 27 years after the original murders. What's fascinating about this case, it was one of the first cases in its time for a man to be convicted on familial DNA and the exhumation of a body and the DNA profiling, which was 100% correct, that Joseph Kappen was a serial killer and known as the Saturday Night Strangler. I'm always intrigued by the idea that justice never sleeps. The drive by a detective to find a killer can, in some cases, span a generation and even an entire career. Detective Phil Reese was one such detective who would find himself working on the case on 2 separate occasions, separated by almost 3 decades.
Hello?
Oh, Phil, it's a quick call. It's from Jackie Malton, ex-detective from the Metropolitan Police. We're looking at the Joseph Kappen case, and I know that you were involved in this.
Yes?
Just tell me, what do you find so interesting about this case?
It's been a case which has lingered with the people of South Wales for 27 years.
I joined the South Wales Police Service in February 1973. After doing my training, I was then stationed at Swansea Central Police Station. I became aware of most certainly the murder of Sandra Newton, which occurred in July 73.
On the 17th of July, 1973, Sandra Newton's body is found by a man walking his dog in Llandarcy Woods near Neath.
Then some 6 weeks later then, obviously the murders of Geraldine Hughes and Pauline Floyd.
Geraldine and Pauline's bodies were found close together in a small wooded copse, only a short distance from where Sandra's body had lain. Can you give me an indication how large that investigation was in the 1970s?
It was a huge undertaking. I think there must have been hundreds of detectives involved at that particular time.
An enormous manhunt for the killer was launched, unlike anything ever seen in the region before or since. Despite the huge amount of manpower deployed to find the serial killer, he was never caught, and gradually the investigation was wound down. When were you later to revisit the investigation of these murders?
27 years later, really, in the year 2000, I received a phone call from DS Paul Bethel, who was part of the major crime team at the time. Basically, he stated that they were going to look into the murders of the 3 girls, and would I be interested in coming on board? The essence of the inquiry was to look into every piece of evidence relating to the murders with a view of doing some DNA work and establishing, in fact, who had killed the 3 girls. The operation name was Operation Magnum, which sounds very grand, but in fact, there's only 3 of us attached to Operation Magnum: myself, Detective Constable Geraint Bale, and Paul himself.